Great. So, hello. Thanks again for watching. I am Patrick Miller, Pat the Flip, RT Patrick, whatever you want to call me. Um, Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about this Edge build that I've been running. I've been running it for a while, but I think it's cool because it kind of talks like it helps unpack a little bit of the the kind of the subtleties of fighting games and some of the mind games around like momentum and offensive versus defensive play, right? And really the core of it is that it's really good at irritating your opponent. It's not necessarily the most powerful build, but it helps throw people off, and that's something which I think is a really powerful tool to have in your arsenal, especially in Rising Thunder, because the variant system means that you can have builds that are designed to trick your opponent or show only certain aspects of your game or whatever, right? And that's something that all fighting games have, and I think it's great. Rising Thunder kind of brings it to the surface, which is why I wanted to kind of talk about it during today's stream show. And this Edge build is probably the easiest way to do it. So, in summary, some tactics and some strategies in fighting games can be used to attack your opponent's mental health and frustrate them and get in their heads, which then opens up opportunities to kind of beat them in the game itself, right? A great example is Runaway Storm in Marvel 2. She is not only a very powerful character, she's also super annoying. You get the well, she's running away, building meter. If you don't have the right team, there's not a whole lot you can do about it, and that means you go in and you go in hard, right? So kind of wanted to toy with that idea a little bit with this Edge build, and basically the build is super simple. We'll jump into training mode with it in a bit, but it's you pick his special one variant 3, that's Tranquil Thunder, which is the charge. I like his regular DP, which is Judgment, and then you pick the new special 3 he's got, special 3 version 2, Merciful Gust. And basically what this does is you end up with a character that where classic Edge uses the special 3 run version to get lots of like high-low mix-ups. He's got really good screen mobility, and so he's all about kind of closing the gap and getting in your head, and then converting a hit into a combo with usually it's like kinetic advance into links or something like that. And so he gets good damage, and he tends to fight at like mid-screen with an eye towards closing the gap, knocking you down, and then mix-ups. But this Edge build is much more patient, right? Because you're ditching a run, and you're swapping out either the Fireball special one or the kind of the close slash special one for the charge special one. So you actually lose a move which gets you damage, or at least direct damage, right? So what you get out of it is you get a build that is designed to kind of sit there, charge up with special one, so that you get charges for your Dragon Punch, you get meter for your kinetic, and I usually pick kinetic deflect for this build, and you get super meter, which means you have access to more supers than most players normally do while playing a game of Rising Thunder. And it's pretty cool, right? Basically, the way you can think about it is if you're on the other side of the screen and you're charging, then you're gaining a resource, right? You're basically winning. And even though you're not directly doing damage, because you're gaining resources that you can trade for an advantage later on in the round, and they have to stop you, which is very different than how Edge normally plays. Normally, Edge is all up in your face. He's, kind of, whether you like it or not, he's all up in there. And so people who are going up against Edge on ranked or in a tournament or whatever will be expecting, for the most part, they'll be expecting high-low mix-ups, lots of kind of like smart footsies to knock you down, and then get openings to get in there. This Edge is much more patient, right? Which is really cool for a couple of reasons. One of which is, thanks to the variant system and the way it currently works, where you can change variants after winning or losing, you can play one version of Edge, which is the version that you're used to with kind of the run, and go for those mix-ups. And then if you find that they're blocking your stuff, then you can switch to your kind of alternate build and see how they play when you get a little bit more patient, right? So that's why I tend to call this build the troll build, or the annoying as fuck Edge build, because it lacks the same kind of raw power. Like, it's harder to do damage with this build than with the other build, the kind of the conventional run builds. But it forces your opponent to play outside their comfort zone, or it can be outside their comfort zone if they're not used to it. So that's something which, frankly, like, um, I think players have not really dug that deeply into the variant system yet. They've mostly found the optimal build for them. They haven't really found kind of ways to play around with multiple builds for multiple matchups, or at least some have, some haven't, right? Like most Crow players I know find one and stick to it. Most Edge players, same thing. Like they find one, maybe for 1 or 2 matchups they'll change a variant here or there. But I haven't seen many players do a complete like build swap and just play a completely different kind of character, a different kind of style from one, after variant select. I think that's really cool. And like I said, this is the kind of thing which you can do in conventional fighting games too, even though you have access to all the same moves. It's more about like how you want to use those tools. In Rising Thunder, we just make that really, really obvious, right? You now have access to a different set of moves which let you play a different style of game. So yeah, let's that's kind of enough intro. Let's go ahead and jump into training mode. We'll switch over. Sweet. So, like I said, pick Edge. This is the build that I'm running with. And basically, Tranquil Thunder and Merciful Gust work together really well because Merciful Gust pushes them away from you, so you have more time to charge. Right? Basically, after you combo into Merciful Gust, and it combos off of any medium or heavy attack, it pushes them to the other side of the screen, so you have time to get at least 1, possibly 2 stocks of your Dragon Punch. So the other thing is, note that I picked Kinetic Deflect instead of Advance in this build. Basically, when you pick Merciful Gust, the special 3 shoulder charge, here it is, that's your combo into Super. And you don't really need to burn Kinetic Advance to get into that combo. There isn't really as much use for Kinetic Advance without the run, right? Because Kinetic Advance is useful for keeping the run shenanigans safe. Absent that, you're actually, I think, better off taking Kinetic Deflect with this build. And the neat thing is that this special one charges his kinetic meter as well. I'll go ahead and turn it on, turn the meters off if I can. Let's see. Maybe these UI elements might not be working right now, which is hilarious. Let's see. All right, here we go. So right now, if I do 1 full charge, which you'll almost never get, I've got 3 stocks on my Dragon Punch. That's enough to get the wall bounce on it. I've also got a decent amount of Kinetic Deflect meter and Super meter. So right off the bat, that means that a lot of your damage is going to come off. Oops, missed it. Is going to come off of your Dragon Punch, right? Because you have way more access to Dragon Punch charges now than you usually do with other Edge builds. Like normally with Edge's other special ones, you're only going to get meter if you're hitting a lot of combos or you're soaking up a lot of fireballs. And here, basically every time you land a combo, you can get 1 charge, possibly 2, which is pretty great. And even if you don't land a combo, if they're tentative about getting in, then that's a free charge right there. So I'll start with some of the bread and butter combos. His basic combo is, it's the same as what you'd be doing with the run, except until you get into the run. So you do crouch light, stand medium, and then hard, hard, like this. Nope, not like that, I missed it. There you go. And you do that into Gust. Okay, and note where he is here, right? That basically pushed him to a little more than half screen. I'm gonna go ahead and do that again. So if he doesn't quick rise or anything, I can get probably about 2 stocks on my Dragon Punch, plus a decent amount of Super meter and Kinetic Deflect. That's not a bad deal. Once I have my Overdrive meter charged up, I can also combo the Gust into the I can combo the chain into Gust and the Gust into Overdrive. Oops. Yeah, dropped it. That. And if I'm in the corner, I can actually get Gust again. And then charge 1 more stock of my Dragon Punch. So you can see, he gets, like, Edge can easily land multiple, max charge Dragon Punches in a single round thanks to this move right there. So that's kind of his basic combo. And then if you land, Edge players will probably already know this, but if you land your crouch light slightly further, or maybe if it's 2, I don't know if that works. Yeah, so if you do 2 crouch lights or 1 further crouch light, you'll get the far stand medium, which is, you don't get 2 H's off that, you just get 1, so it looks like this. Oops. Still works. It just does a little bit less damage. So those are kind of the basic combos here, right? And it's also worth pointing out that you can combo into this as well, right? That charge. And if you'll notice, like if I just tap it, he doesn't charge for that long. So that actually makes his close HH safe if they block it. So you can use it for some throw setups and shenanigans, which is kind of fun. We go ahead and switch it to always block. We'll go. So normally, normally this far is punishable, right? And if I make him block a gust, that's like -5 on block, I believe. So it's not punishable, but it's definitely not safe. You give up a lot of momentum if you make if they block your gust. So instead, what I want to do is this. Oops, not that. Huh, that's weird. There we go. So you can actually throw after that, and it's not the slowest thing in the world. It's not bad, right? Off the far, it will walk a little bit farther, but it's doable, right? And especially, again, it's one of those things which if they're used to it, it probably won't work that well, right? But a lot of people who play against Edge are used to seeing run shenanigans off that HH, right? Or off the far H. So if they're expecting runs, they're probably going to be prepared to block high-low. They won't necessarily be prepared for a throw attempt, right? Again, it's one of those things which you can catch once, and that's enough to get a knockdown. That's enough to start doing some damage. Let's see. Oh, right. So the other thing that the special one lets you do is it actually lets you extend that basic bread and butter combo. So you can get a little bit more damage off of it by adding the two chains together. It looks like this. Right? So you get, that's crouch light, stand medium, heavy heavy, into charge just briefly, so just tap it, right? And then you get another far medium, far H. I keep on dropping on link. And you can go ahead and combo that in overdrive. Tap, into gust to finish it off. That gust only hits in the corner, by the way. If you hit overdrive at midstream, then instead you're gonna have to just stand there and charge or something. You get a few stacks, but you won't get a follow-up off the overdrive. Cool. So a couple things to keep in mind about this build. One is, since you're going to have more access to Dragon Punch charges, it means that your overhead is now way more of a damage threat. And that does a lot of damage. Oops, missed it. That does a lot of damage, right? Even if I don't get the gust at the end, that's a good, like... Zap. Ugh, missed it again. Yeah, the gust timing is a little bit finicky. Alright, so that's 265. It's not bad, right? And if you have super, then you can go ahead and get the full combo if you want. And you don't need to worry too much about burning these resources, because unlike other builds, you're going to have more access to DP and super. So that's 385. It's pretty good, right? And you'll be able to you could possibly land those like multiple times around, right? So, as far as like, that's pretty much it as far as basic combos and stuff, but there's a few other things to keep in mind while playing this build. One is that gust is mostly useful either in combos or you can use it in footsies. So if they start walking towards you, you can bust that out. The range is not fantastic, but it's not bad. It's hard to react to. It's only one hit, so it will lose to armored stuff unless you cancel it into a super, which I was doing earlier on stream if you're watching. But you can definitely catch people with this in footsies, and it's not because it's a great footsies tool, it's because what you're doing is you're charging out here and you're making them come in at you, right? And they're not necessarily used to Edge having a poke at that range, and it's a poke that's safe. It's not the best, right? But at least it's safe, and ideally you'll have some kinetic deflect meter so you can get out of sticky situations if they end up trying to punish your special grade. The other thing is, since you don't have run, it means you can't move around as quickly, right? Which is fine, because you're going to be running away a little bit more with this build, or at least you're definitely going to be zoning a little bit more. But you're zoning with it not with the intent of keeping them out, so much as just getting time to charge your stuff, right? So you got to get used to the delay in between when you're when you want to stop charging and when you can first Dragon Punch. Because there's going to be a lot of times where they're coming in at you and you need to stop charging just a little bit earlier to make sure that you get that hit, right? And like I said earlier, this game plan for this build is really about frustrating your opponents. So you want to sit here and you want to charge, and then you want to hit them as soon as they're vulnerable while they're coming in on you, right? That's how the build works. It's kind of like bullfighting, right? Like you're standing out here and you're just waving your little flag, and then when they come in at you, that's when you got the Dragon Punch or the Overdrive or whatever, right? And then that pushes them, like, even if I only use like 2 stacks, well, that's a cool one. Even if I only have 1 stack, and I go ahead and I get the full thing, that pushes them to the other side of the screen, and now I get 1 or 2 stacks again, and I'm ready to go, right? It's pretty rad. So, let's see, what else was I going to talk about? One of the tricky things about this build is, and this is something which is kind of experienced Edge players already know how to use a lot of his tools. Like his stand H is pretty good in footsies. Jump H, his neutral jump H is pretty good as well. You're going to be wanting to fish for sweeps every now and then, but don't get too predictable with them. But the thing is that this build doesn't give you the shenanigans of stuff like the special 3 run and overhead. So what you end up doing is you have to rely on your footsies and your combos more, which I think is actually pretty good. Like if you were using the run as a crutch, like I did when I played Edge kind of earlier in the alpha, this forces you to learn the rest of his tools, and that's actually pretty cool, right? That should make your primary Edge game even better, right? So that's pretty much it for the build. I'll take it on and play some more ranked unless you guys want to play lobbies or whatever. Like I said, I think right now, I don't think it's the strongest build available for Edge, but I think it's incredibly powerful as kind of a backup build, either to get in your opponent's head. Like, if they beat you the first game, you can pull this out there. Like, if they beat you pretty decisively, if they're blocking all your mix-ups, and you pull this out there and see if you can kind of beat them on the fundamentals. And if you don't, like, if you win the first game with your kind of standard Edge build, that's great. You can mix it up even further by throwing this in whenever you want, right? So I will exit training mode and go back to the camera for a bit. Yeah. So I'm going to continue taking this build for a spin, but I think it's a lot of fun. Personally, I actually don't really enjoy playing the kind of conventional Edge builds as much. But I have a lot of fun with this. It's kind of like playing S-Groove in CVS2, if any of y'all played that. But I just wanted to kind of recap, like, the point of this build is really to frustrate your opponent. And that's a decision you can make, right? And it's actually pretty neat because I think when you go online and you watch, you know, either you're playing yourself or you see people playing the game, a lot of people, they're pretty stuck on their game plan. And it's usually like either get in there and fuck them up, or stay at mid-range and fuck them up, or stay at full screen and fuck them up. And if they can't get their game plan, or if they don't know how to start it, then they're actually pretty uncomfortable